Hey everybody, Mud here from server 948 United Warriors, and we're going to go over some common tips on how to play Evony. So today we're going to focus on buildings and duty generals. So if you select a building, in this case the hospital, go into the duty tab, you can see that if there is a general in this hospital, you can get some additional buffs. By selecting on hospital, it shows you what kind of statistics your general needs to provide certain buffs. For example, any old general with a defense of 500 and attack of 450 will get you plus 10%. In order to get these higher level super hospital officers, you need a defense of 1400, an attack of 1400, and a power level of 3.1 million. So we're going to go into generals and look at specific generals that buff these buildings. And the hospital, it would be Skandabeg, I think. So you'll see if you click on this general that when he's placed in a hospital, he also gives you a plus 25% to the hospital capacity. Now, I just got him, so I need to level him up for this role. But what were the two statistics that you needed in order to increase your duty level? Defense and attack. So I'm going to show you how I set my generals up. Now, what affects your statistics, your general statistics, are 1, the level of the general. So if you look at defense and attack, you're at 189, 183. So let's take him up a level. Level 7. So now his defense is at 199 and his attack is at 193. Let's take him up a couple levels now. Great, so now he's at level 10. You'll see his defense is at 230, his attack is at 223. The other way to increase stats is to enhance the general. So right now he's at a plus 1 star. We take him to a plus 2 star, you'll see what's going to happen. His attack will go to 241, and his defense will go to 248. 241, 248, there we go. The third way that you can increase your statistics is to cultivate. Now when you cultivate, there's a way to do this to make this cheaper for you. When you do cultivation, you can increase your general stats using gold only up to plus 300. The max level of increase is up to plus 500. So from plus 300 to plus 500, you have to start using gems. Now this is a time-consuming process or a very costly process when it comes to gems. I personally, because I don't spend that much, like to use gold to get up to plus 300, and then I use gems to finish out that plus 500. But the cool thing about duty generals is you only have to focus on these two stats for this hospital when it comes to the hospital: attack and defense. So you'll see I'm going to cultivate, and I'm only looking at attack and defense. So -1 attack, plus 2 defense is still a plus 1 overall. I'm going to accept that. There's a 0 plus 2, accept that. So you see how the thought process goes overall. And then once you kind of get good at this, you can kind of start clicking a lot faster and making this work. I think you get the general what's happening here. So +1, accept that. I do not care about leadership. I do not care about politics. You're only focused on the two stats for your duty building. Clicking yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no over and over again to get to plus 300, and then having to switch over to gems is just a lengthy process. It's going to make this a lot cheaper than it could be. So I already have Menshikov being worked on too. And when we go into Menshikov, you'll notice he's already at 5 stars. Of course, I need to level him up as soon as SBS is over. But when we go into cultivation, you'll see that I'm at plus 300, plus 297. And again, I don't care about attack and defense in this case, because if you're in a keep building, the two stats that matter are politics and leadership. So going back to Menchikov and cultivation, I'm at this point where if I try to cultivate with gold, I'm not really going to get anywhere. You'll notice that leadership at 300 is always going to be a negative. So now I'm stuck using gems. Now the way I use gems is, well, there's two ways. You can go one at a time. So -3 +3, cancel. +3 -2 is a +1, I'm going to accept that. -2 +3, accepting that. +3 +1. This is probably in all honesty, the best way to do it. Of course, it takes a long time too. And once I get to gems, I already know I'm spending gems, so I kind of go into this quick function. And what I do is I will select only one stat that I need. So I'm picking politics, and I'll cultivate. You can do it times 100, or you can do it times 10. Really doesn't matter until you start getting up to the 400s, and you want to keep these pretty close to being equal. So let's just use the +100. We'll see what happens. I lost 6 points, but I gained 53 points for 50. Of course, we're going to accept that. And I only had to use 5,600 gems. That's probably a best case scenario, because when I do it again, 56 -20, definitely going to accept that. But I rotate these back and forth because I don't want my stat numbers to go too far apart. Now you have to be careful. Now you see how much I'm spending, right? I had like 80 or 90,000 gems. Now I'm down to 35,000. You're going to have to spend gems. But as we get close to that 500 number, we do have to be careful. So I'm at 491, 471. So I'm not going to use this 100 anymore. Although I will tell you that you can. And this can take you far over that plus 500 number. So let's just try it. Notice I'm at 528. You would never get this if you were just doing it, you know, one time. You would get capped at 500. So it's a pretty cool trick when you're at the very end, especially if you need just a few extra points to make your level. So we're at 494, 506, and I'm going to stop because I don't want to keep using gems up, but right here I'm pretty close, 494, 506 to plus 500, plus 500. Okay, we're back. SBS is over and I managed to level up Menchikov to level 32, so you see his leadership is at 1300, politics 1300. If you go you're going to see that to become a special keep officer I need 1300 and 1250, but I also need a power of 3.3 million. So let's go back to our general. And you're going to see that his power is only at 945,000. So how do we get this to work? Well, we add gear. So if we start adding the Achaemenid gear, get us roughly around 300,000 per piece of equipment. So really it's only going to give us another 1.8 million. We're going to fall short here. There's two ways that you can go about this. If you're lucky enough to have Civ gear, well, you're fine, because once you add Civ, you're seeing that we're already at 2.6. Add add another piece of Civ gear, we're at 3.3. So right now we're at 3.3 million. And we meet all of the requirements. So what we're going to do now is go to the keep, change our duty general to Menshikov, select, and now you see he's the special keep officer. So we got that level that we're going to want. I would say for everybody that you want your general to be around level 33, and if you have the right gear, you can make this happen. If you don't, you're probably going to have to wait a couple more levels, you know, to get their power up. The other thing that you can add to these generals are dragons or beasts. The issue being, of course, that when you disable them, you have to wait an hour before you can put them on a new general. So here we go with Special Keep Officer. And now what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of all this gear, because we don't need it. It actually does nothing for us aside from getting us a certain power level. Now, one of the common mistakes that I see a lot of new players do is that they leave the gear on these generals. So if you're going to see that even after removing the gear, my Special Keep Officer level is the same. Now if I took him off and put him back on, which I'm going to do, you're going to see that I'm relegated to the Senior Keep Officer level now. So again, take the gear off after you assign the general. I'll show you if we added the Bird of Hurricane. See, that brought us up a little bit. Almost where I need to be. And there you go, 3.5 million. So Menshikov, again, Special Keep Officer. And what we want to do now, take off all that gear. You only have to do this once. And I would say maybe once you get to K37, maybe general level 38, 39, with the right gear, you would be able to then go for that Super Keep Officer level. Alright, so we have Menshikov assigned, and I have another general that I want to assign here for the... So Oleg. And you can see his stats are 1311 and 1319, so he makes the minimum requirements. So we'll go ahead and gear him up. And assign him. There you go, you see Special Stable Officer with all the buffs. And again, you just go in afterwards. Move the gear. So I'm going to do this for every building we have. Whether I have a special general for it or not, I'm going to pick one of those generals that I don't often use or don't have multiples of, so I can ascend them. And I'm going to only focus on those two stats, bring them up to the level I need, so I can get them assigned to these buildings at the special level. Alright, and that's it. Hopefully this information is helpful to you. Feel free to comment or ask questions in the comment section.